Welcome to another Silicon Valley podcast. And if you're new here, I'm Andre and she's Sophie. We're tech founders in San Francisco and building cool shit. Yeah. What are we going to talk about today?
I'm excited because Andres been working in a lot of pitch decks or building his website because he's applying to different VCs, accelerators, and stuff. So we're going to talk a bit more about that because we know that many founders are trying to apply or are scared of applying. So we want to explore more of that. So tell us, Andre, give us an update of what you're doing or what are you applying to and why are you applying to those things?
Yeah. So right now we're looking at accelerators. It's not the first time we look at accelerators. For the last companies I had, we also applied to accelerators. We didn't get in, but as we understand more, there was one time where they offered me a check and I was afraid to take it because, taking venture capital means, a lot of commitment. You're not the only ones with your founders, having full control of the company. So you have shareholders to make happy, and also means that you need to commit to that for the next 7 to 10 years. So it's a big decision. But right now, what we're doing is that we're applying to a bunch of accelerators, grants, and stuff like that. Because first, we kind of figured out a technology that works, that people want. And so as we're focusing more on product, we want to move as fast as we can and get this technology in front of people who will very, very much appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And for that, you need money. You need money for the next 18 months, the next 2 years. And that's why you need to start raising. So only start raising when you need money. Mm-hmm. If you don't, just wait it out, keep working on your product. And eventually you'll find it.
Mm-hmm. In that sense, which types of first of all, if you don't know that yet, what's the difference between an accelerator and raising capital? Because maybe people are not very familiar with this concept.
Yeah. So basically an accelerator is a 3-month program that is linked to a venture capital firm.
Is it always 3 months?
It could be maybe 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, but usually here in San Francisco, it's between 2 to 3 months. And in those 2 to 3 months, basically you take a check. Usually it's pre-seed. So most accelerators are pre-seed, not seed or Series A. And these accelerators are meant to give you a kickstart, not only in terms of how you should be building, but also gives you, a community of other founders who are also building, which helps a lot. And most of these accelerators also give you the first clients, very first clients. For example, Y Combinator is very known for this. It's not very public information, but one of the advantages about, for example, applying to Y Combinator and getting in is not that you're going to get a check. It's not that the brand value that you get from YC as a company. It's that most B2B companies that go through YC, the first 20 to 50 customers are other YC companies. So what does this mean? You get this network of other YC companies who are in their Series A, Series B, who have money and who are also founders. So they're the perfect customer to iterate on your product on. And that's some of unfair advantages that you get in these accelerators. Also, another very unfair advantage that you get there is that, for example, in Y Combinator, they have a list of all the venture capital firms after you finish this 3-month program that the history of how are they gonna rip you off if this is a good VC and this is good money to take, or is it good? And they have all this data, and specifically they do demo day, which is most accelerators do, and demo day is just basically a way to say, okay, I raised $250,000. I used a lot of it during this 3 months. I accelerated my company very hard, or kept building on my product and doubling down on making it better. Mm-hmm. And at the end, when you get to demo day, it's a place where you get to pitch in front of 1,000 venture capitalists. And these venture capitalists are filtered by Y Combinator, for example, which helps you a lot to not make decision. And in this sense, you're not reaching 100 VCs, sending cold emails or whatever. Instead, they're coming to you. Mm-hmm. So those are small advantages. And the last one I'll say is that if you're new in the startup world, like for example, I'm new in San Francisco. I'm a nobody here. Also Sofia is new. We are nobodies. And basically, how you get integrated and make your name here is by, going through these accelerators. Like if you're new to the startup world and you just moved to San Francisco and you're building cool things, an accelerator might be a way to basically, get you into the network as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. And what would you say right now is a couple of accelerators programs that you're applying to so that other people can know that those things are open, because sometimes we're not aware of those things? Like, which are the things you're applying to right now?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. So there's NEO Accelerator. You can be NEO Scholars. This is mostly for engineering people. If you're highly technical, this is a good program to apply for. Then there's C Fellows, which is the program that I was in. And this gives you fast track into Silicon Valley, and you get to meet awesome mentors and advisors, and they invest in your company for an entire week. And then the community keeps on, and that's the most valuable thing. Then there's Y Combinator. They just opened a new batch, the first batch ever, this fall. I think it starts in September. So if you want to apply, it's August 28th, I believe. If you want to apply to Y Combinator. And then there's AI Grant, also for if you're innovating in the AI space and doing something very unique, you can apply to the AI Grant and they give you $250,000. But that application deadline just closed yesterday. But you can apply for next batch, I guess. And then there's Arc Accelerator from Sequoia, which is also very known here and has good reputation, which are ways that you can get. Those are the ones that are on top of my head and we applied to. Yeah.
Awesome. And if you want to know more about those things, you can ask in the comments, and we can even send you a link. I don't know how are we doing on time? Oh,
no,
we're good. We have other 7 minutes.
Do you want to talk about for example, is that you're fundraising soon, a lot of capital, right? And you're going through so many changes in your company. So right now it's time for you to go and basically do a bunch of calls to raise money. So if I'm wondering, I'm not wondering, I imagine that you guys are wondering, okay, what do you send to this venture capitalist? What do you send to these accelerators? Let's start with a pitch deck. What are venture capitalists looking for in a pitch deck?
Yeah. Awesome. Maybe before answering what people are looking for in a pitch deck, just to mention a couple of things you do need to have in case you're going to raise money or in case you're looking to apply to accelerators. Basics. You do need a pitch deck. You do need a landing page that explains your product and that tells the story of what you're actually doing. And then apart from that, it's usually recommended to have a one-pager, which is basically the pitch deck or the landing page just made into a one-pager that you can send to anybody. If you're at a party, you're I'm going to send you a PDF, a quick PDF that's like an elevator pitch. Those are the three main things that you should have. Imagine in terms of the landing page, for example, it doesn't have to be the most technical thing. As long as you can tell the story and it's accessible for most people, that's great. Now to mention in terms of pitch deck, which is something.
Also two things, it depends. But if you're pre-seed, that's very important. Yeah. And what all other things that you need to do as well, that before in the venture capital industries, they didn't care about an MVP or making initial capital, which is important. You could forget. But that's very important in today's world. It's easier to do a landing page or do whatever, but it's it takes an extra step. There's no excuse for you not to do an MVP and get it in front of customers.
What's an MVP? Tell them.
MVP is minimum viable product. It's the version 0, the first version of what you're building. So in the case, I'll give an example. In the case of Netflix, it was Mark Randolph, which was the founder, basically sending DVDs through the mailbox. Yeah. That's a version 0, and you can make some money with it. And then you prove the concept, and then you raise the capital to start investing in developing technology and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the points I'm gonna mention because you asked about the pitch deck, right? And when you have an MVP, that helps a lot to the story because usually having an MVP, it's not only advice to have an MVP, but also to have it tested already, like to already have some type of feedback or some type of traction. Even if it's like I started it yesterday, I built it now, I sent it to my family, it's 10 people, they all loved it or they all hate it. Like that's traction. Those are numbers you can say, and user feedback is very important. So now going like from zero, we're gonna also add resources of how to build a pitch deck. There are many general practices. You can look them up on ChatGPT or on Google, but I want to say things that maybe are not said there. Because those you can look for. It's very easy to find. Just have in mind that you, of course, you've been inside your product or inside your project for so long, and you know very specific terms, you know the story you're telling yourself, but sometimes the story you tell yourself is not the one that your users are going to understand. So you have to build, and we've said this in other podcasts, you have to build your pitch like you build a product. You think of your user first. What is it that they're going to care about? What is it that they will want to understand? And that's why it's also very important to build your pitch deck next to your user or a third person that's not so invested in the story already, so that you can show it to them and they can be like, what the fuck does this mean? And then you can edit and iterate upon that, which is something we've also said. It's not only important to build it today, build the pitch, that's done, but to iterate upon it with the feedback that you get. I think I'm just gonna say that because truly, I do recommend like looking things up on ChatGPT with prompts like, what's the pitch deck that Y Combinator people have used before? Like, what's the most recommended structure for that? And you can do that. What would you say? Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, I think I have maybe three things, very, very short. First one is that you're going to iterate on this pitch deck a lot. And usually, like, when you first start making your first pitch deck, you focus a lot on, like, making it pretty. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that venture capitalists are watching 100 pitch decks per, like, every 2 weeks. Yeah. So the thing that you need to do is like be very concise, to the point, don't add much text, and just like say, okay, what are you building? Why are you building it? How, like, did you get it to people? What did they think? Right? Then say, I don't know. What did they think? Why is this product solving the problem? Mm-hmm. And then how does the product look like? Mm-hmm. How do users use it? Mm-hmm. And then go into saying, okay, now that you have all those answers questions, they're gonna wonder about what's your market, mm-hmm. what's your traction, right? Another question would be who's on your team, who's backing the team, right? Why are you the right team to execute this idea and this product?
Can I just say something on that note? A friend of ours that has built a lot of companies and sold a lot of companies, one tip that he gave us is that your pitch deck should answer we'll edit this for the clips, but your pitch deck should answer all the questions that might come to mind for the investor or for the user. So that's why it's also important to ask the users, like, which other questions are you left with? Like, is there anything I did not mention that I should have mentioned? And then you add those things as well.
Yeah. I think one last thing that I'll say, because, let's see. Yeah, we're almost out of time. We have 2 minutes. But the one last thing that you need to take care about is the TAM, the total addressable market, which means, like, on the global scale, like, how much market can, like, how many people are going to pay for your product and how much revenue you can make per year. That's basically TAM. And this is a common mistake by multiple founders. And there's a way that you can look up online, but there's the top-down approach. That is very wrong. You'll get like very, very bad calculations about your total market. You should start from there's a bottoms-up approach. And what you basically do is that you need to filter people as much as you can to your specific niche. Find the statistics, like on this is the number of people who have a phone, and this is the number of people who are moving from the airport to the city hall in San Francisco. And with these numbers, you can play around. Okay, how much are they paying for a taxi? Like in the case of Uber, how much are they paying for a taxi? This, and then you can figure out how much they're spending in that area. That's how you can calculate, like, from the bottom up and do some math for your TAM. And you're gonna get this TAM wrong. most of the time.
That's what I was gonna say while you were talking. Like, most of the times, the number that people put on their slides is a lie. But I think what you mentioned is important. Like a lie, I mean, it's inaccurate. But what you did mention about making your user a very, very specific targeted audience is very important. As like Andres giving you tips to do the math and whatnot, but also don't spend all your time on that, because in the end it's gonna be ballpark. The number you're gonna give is ballpark, but like it might be worth your time. I have a perspective on the TAM, because I hate the TAM so much, but I think Andre also has his perspective.
Yeah. So when you're focusing on the TAM, don't overcomplicate yourself. What the venture capitalist is focusing on is not like, okay, is it a big enough market? Because you can get to a big enough market no matter how the calculation you're going to do, right? But what they care about is how you think, how you came up to that number. If it has some logic behind it and it's reasonable, then the VCs are going to like it. Yeah, and that's it. Just make it reasonable. Like, this is how I came up to this number, and it makes sense.
And it's about the user, and that you know who you're targeting.
Yeah.
You know how.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. Okay.
We love you so much, and as I mentioned before, if you have any questions about which accelerators are open right now, you can ask questions on the chat. We will make sure to add anything that might be useful for you in the description. We love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Follow us on IG.